There is a particular kind of man who walks through the world differently. He does not announce himself. He does not seek approval. He does not bend to the emotional currents that sweep everyone else along. And for that, he is feared. Not because he is violent, not because he threatens, but because he is unmoved. And in a world that runs on emotional leverage, on guilt and flattery and manipulation, an unmoved man is dangerous. The Stoic man carries himself with a quiet weight. There is no performance in his presence, no attempt to prove anything to anyone watching. His shoulders are relaxed but firm. His gaze is steady, not searching for validation in the eyes of others. When he enters a room, he does not fill it with noise or energy. He simply occupies his space with a calm certainty that makes others wonder what he knows that they do not. This is not confidence manufactured for show. It is something deeper. It is the peace that comes from a man who has looked inward, who has examined his fears and his desires, and who has decided that nothing outside of him will control what happens inside of him. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. The Stoic man has dyed his soul with discipline, with clarity, with acceptance. And that internal order radiates outward as a silent, unshakable presence. People sense this immediately. They sense that he is not looking for their approval. They sense that flattery will not sway him. They sense that anger will not rattle him. And so they become uncomfortable. Because the tools they use to navigate the social world, the emotional levers they pull to get what they want, do not work on him. Silence, in the hands of a Stoic man, becomes a form of power. While others fill every pause with nervous chatter, while they explain and justify and seek reassurance, the Stoic man simply listens. He watches, he considers, and his silence forces others to reveal themselves. They begin to talk more, to fill the void, to expose their insecurities and intentions. And all the while he remains still. Seneca understood this well. He wrote that the mind that is anxious about future events is miserable. The Stoic man does not waste his energy worrying about what might happen or what others might think. He is present. He is here. And that presence, that full inhabitation of the moment, gives him a kind of gravitational pull. People feel drawn to him and repelled by him at the same time. Drawn because strength is magnetic. Repelled because his strength highlights their own instability. The Stoic man does not react. This is perhaps his most unnerving quality. When someone tries to provoke him, to pull him into drama or conflict, he does not take the bait. He does not defend himself with desperation. He does not attack back with wounded pride. He simply observes. He processes. And then he responds, if he responds at all, with measured calmness. This lack of reactivity is interpreted by others as coldness, as arrogance, as a lack of care. But it is none of those things. It is mastery. It is the understanding that Epictetus taught. We cannot control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. And because the Stoic man has mastered his responses, he cannot be controlled. This is why he is feared. In a world where people bond over shared grievances, where relationships are maintained through emotional entanglement, where power is gained by making others feel guilty or obligated, the Stoic man stands apart. He is not entangled. He is not obligated. He is free. His boundaries are absolute. Not harsh, not aggressive, but immovable. He knows what he will accept and what he will not. He knows when to say no without apology, without explanation, without the need to soften the blow with excuses. And this clarity, this self-respect, is mistaken for cruelty by those who are used to people bending, negotiating, compromising their own standards to keep the peace. But the Stoic man understands something essential. He understands that respect is not the same as being liked. Being liked is easy. It requires only that you reflect back what others want to see, that you mold yourself to their expectations, that you make them comfortable, even at the cost of your own integrity. Being respected is harder. It requires that you stand firm in your principles, even when it makes others uncomfortable, even when it makes them resent you. There is a detachment in the way the Stoic man moves through relationships. He cares, but he is not desperate. He loves, but he is not dependent. He contributes, but he does not sacrifice his soul to be needed. This detachment is not indifference. It is freedom. It is the recognition that he is responsible for his own well-being, his own happiness, his own peace, and that no one else can give those things to him or take them away. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that he would encounter difficult people, that they would be ungrateful, violent, treacherous, envious. But he also reminded himself that this was no reason to abandon his own virtue, his own tranquility. The Stoic man carries this same understanding. He knows that the world will not always be kind, that people will project their fears and frustrations onto him, that his refusal to play their games will make him a target, and he accepts this. Because his peace is not negotiable, people misunderstand his strength. They assume that because he does not show emotion easily, he does not feel. But the opposite is true. The Stoic man feels deeply. He simply does not allow his feelings to dictate his actions. He does not explode in anger because he is hurt. He does not collapse in despair because he is disappointed. He processes. He reflects. He chooses his response with intention rather than impulse. And this emotional discipline, this refusal to be a slave to his own reactions, is what makes him formidable. There is something deeply unsettling about a man who cannot be manipulated. In social dynamics, emotional manipulation is currency. People learn early how to use tears to gain sympathy, anger to establish dominance, charm to disarm, guilt to control. But the Stoic man is immune to these tactics. Not because he is heartless, but because he sees them for what they are. He recognizes when someone is trying to make him responsible for their emotions, when someone is trying to use his compassion against him, when someone is testing his boundaries to see how much they can take, and he simply does not engage. He does not argue. He does not defend. He does not try to convince anyone of his worth. He knows his worth, and that is enough. This self-sufficiency is threatening. It suggests that he does not need what others need, that he is not bound by the same social contracts, the same unspoken agreements to pretend and perform and appease. He has opted out, not with rebellion or defiance, but with quiet sovereignty. And people sense that they have no leverage over him, no way to make him comply, no way to make him smaller so that they can feel bigger. The Stoic man's gaze is steady. When he looks at you, he is truly seeing you. Not judging, not critiquing, but observing. And that can be deeply uncomfortable. Because most people spend their lives being seen only superficially, only in the roles they play. But the Stoic man sees past the performance. He sees the fear behind the bravado, the insecurity behind the arrogance, the desperation behind the charm. And while he does not weaponize this understanding, his awareness of it is palpable. Epictetus taught that it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The Stoic man has internalized this to his core. He does not give away his power by blaming circumstances, by pointing fingers, by making excuses. He takes full responsibility for his life, and that level of self-accountability is rare. It is also intimidating, because it removes the option of commiseration, of bonding over victimhood, of sharing in the comfortable lie. That we are all powerless against the forces of the world. The Stoic man knows he is not powerless. He may not control the external world, but he controls himself completely. And that is the only power that matters. His strength is not loud. It does not need to be. Real strength never announces itself. It simply is. The Stoic man does not need to tell you he is disciplined. You see it in the way he shows up consistently, in the way he honors his commitments, in the way he maintains his standards, even when no one is watching. He does not need to tell you he is resilient. You see it in the way he endures hardship without complaint, in the way he recovers from setbacks without drama, in the way he continues forward when others would have quit. And because his strength is not performative, it is unassailable. There is nothing to attack, nothing to undermine. He is not trying to prove anything, so there is no claim to dispute. He is simply living according to his principles, that integrity is its own defense. This is why the Stoic man is often alone. Not because he cannot form connections, because he refuses to compromise his authenticity for the comfort of shallow relationships. He would rather be alone than surrounded by people who require him to be less than he is. And this willingness to walk alone, to endure solitude rather than sacrifice his soul, is perhaps the most intimidating thing about him, because most people will do anything to avoid being alone. They will tolerate disrespect. They will accept less than they deserve. They will stay in situations that drain them, that diminish them, that slowly erode their sense of self, all to avoid the silence of their own company. But the Stoic man has made peace with himself. He does not need external noise to drown out internal turmoil. He has faced his shadows. He has sat with his discomfort, and he has emerged with a quiet confidence that cannot be shaken. Seneca wrote that a man who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary. The Stoic man does not borrow trouble from tomorrow. He does not catastrophize. He does not spin worst-case scenarios in his mind until he is paralyzed with anxiety. He deals with what is in front of him, nothing more. And this practicality, this refusal to engage in mental torment, gives him a clarity that others lack. They see his calmness in the face of uncertainty, and they mistake it for naivety. They think he does not understand the stakes, but he understands perfectly. He simply refuses to waste his energy on things he cannot control. And so while others spiral, he remains centered. While others panic, he remains purposeful. And this steadiness, this rootedness, makes him a pillar in a storm. But it also makes him a mirror. And people do not always like what they see when they look into that mirror. The Stoic man's life is not easier than anyone else's. He faces the same losses, the same disappointments, the same betrayals. But he does not let these experiences define him. He does not let pain turn him bitter, does not let hardship turn him cynical. He processes, he learns, he grows. And then he moves forward, not forgetting but not dwelling, not forgiving thoughtlessly, but not poisoning himself with resentment either. This capacity to endure without becoming hardened is rare. Most people protect themselves by closing off, by building walls, by deciding never to trust or hope or risk again. But the Stoic man remains open. Not naive, but open. He understands that vulnerability is not weakness, that to feel deeply is to live fully. And so he allows himself to experience life without armor, even knowing that it will hurt sometimes. Because the alternative, a life lived in fear behind defenses, is not living at all. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances action, that what stands in the way becomes the way. The Stoic man embodies this. He does not see obstacles as reasons to quit. He sees them as opportunities to refine himself, to test his resolve, to become stronger. And this mindset, this refusal to be a victim of circumstance, is what makes him unstoppable. Not because he never fails. He fails, but he does not let failure define him. He learns from it, he adjusts, he tries again. And this resilience, this relentless forward motion, even in the face of defeat, is terrifying to those who give up easily. Because it exposes their own lack of commitment. It's their own willingness to surrender when things get hard. The Stoic man does not surrender. Not to fear, not to doubt, not to the opinions of others. He has decided who he is and who he will be. And he is committed to that vision with an intensity that does not waver. And people sense that commitment. They sense that he is not going to change his course to accommodate them, that he is not going to shrink himself to make them comfortable, that he is not going to betray his principles for approval. And so they fear him, because they cannot control him. What cannot be controlled cannot be predicted, and what cannot be predicted feels dangerous. But here is the truth that the Stoic man knows, and that others struggle to accept. The only thing truly dangerous is living without integrity, without purpose, without the courage to stand alone when necessary. To live as a Stoic is to live with an unshakable inner foundation. To know that no matter what is taken from you, no matter what crumbles around you, you remain whole. Because your worth is not tied to external validation. Your peace is not dependent on favorable circumstances. Your strength is not borrowed from others. You are complete within yourself, And that completeness is not arrogance. It is liberation. The Stoic man walks through the world with the quiet knowledge that he has mastered the only thing that can truly be mastered, himself. His emotions do not rule him. His fears do not paralyze him. His desires do not enslave him. He is free in a way that most people will never understand. And that freedom, that self-possession, is the source of both his power and his isolation. He is feared because he is free, and he is not liked because he will not pretend to be in chains with everyone else, will not participate in the collective delusion that we are helpless, that we are victims, that we are entitled to comfort without effort and respect without integrity. The Stoic man knows that life is hard, that it will test him, that it will break him open again and again, and he welcomes it. As every breaking is an opportunity to rebuild stronger. Every challenge is an opportunity to prove to himself that he is capable. Every moment of discomfort is an opportunity to expand his capacity to endure. And in the end, when the storms have passed and the noise has faded, the Stoic man remains, standing, calm, unbroken, not because nothing could hurt him, because he chose not to let it destroy him, not because he had no fears, but because he acted in spite of them. It's not because he needed no one, but because he refused to lose himself in the need. This is the path of the Stoic, not to be liked, not to be understood, but to be unshakable, to be sovereign, to be free, and that is more valuable than any approval this world could offer.